Hi there, thanks for joining me today. My name's Thien Nguyen August, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet a Japanese Daruma doll. You can get the pattern for this doll off of the Wang Center website, and the pattern includes a list of all the materials you'll need to make your very own doll. And today I am using a crochet hook, 4mm size. I'll also be using Vanna's Choice worsted weight yarn in the color Scarlet for the doll's body, and I'll be using Vanna's Choice worsted weight yarn in beige for the face part. Just very quickly, a little bit about a Daruma doll. It's a Japanese tradition that represents perseverance and good luck. So this is a nice thing to have at the start of a new year, and with Lunar New Year coming up, we're celebrating the year of the ox. It's nice to have just a little symbol of a goal or a wish that you would like to have for yourself for this year. And traditionally, these dolls are either made or purchased without the eyes on it. And the doll is placed in a prominent position in the home. And once you have decided on what the wish is that you would like to have granted this year, or what goal it is you're going to work towards, you would then add one of the eyes. And it doesn't really seem to matter which eye you add. In this doll, I've added the right eye when that wish has come true, or when you have reached that goal. You can then go ahead and add the second eye. So this one has both eyes added. And as you can see, the face has eyebrows and a cute little mustache. And these guys all look a little different from each other. And that's kind of the fun and the whimsy and the beauty of making something homemade. They all have their own little personalities and just look slightly different. So I'm going to start with a magic ring. Now, how I do it might be slightly different from you, but I will put the yarn twice around my index finger. And then I'll go through for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 single crochets into the ring right here. So you'll see there's the tail that we started with, and if you just pull on that tail, it will close this right up and leave you with a nice tightly closed circle to start. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in my stitch marker, because in this pattern you're going to be crocheting in a continuous round. You're not going to slip stitch and join and then do a chain as you might in other patterns. It's just going to be a continuous circle, and a stitch marker is helpful to help you keep track of your rounds. So we're going to move on to round 2, and round 2 says to crochet 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So at the end of this round, we should have 12. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. 2 single crochets. So this should double the number of stitches that you had in round 1. And in the last stitch, 1 and 2 stitches in the last stitch. And there we go. And I'm just gonna pull on this tail again just to tighten up the middle, and move my stitch marker over. And round 3 says to single crochet 2 single crochets into the first stitch, and then a single crochet into the next stitch. So essentially you're going to increase into the first stitch. So we're going to do 1 and 2 stitches into that first stitch and 1 single crochet into the next stitch. And then you're just going to do that all the way around. And at the end of this round, you should have 18. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that one more time for you. 1, 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet into the next stitch. I've completed round 3. And at the end of round 3, I counted to make sure I have 18 stitches total. So we're going to move on to round 4, and round 4 starts pretty much the same way. You're going to do 2 single crochets into the first stitch and then single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So we're going to start with an increase and do 1, 2 crochets into that first stitch, and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And there you have it. I'll do that one more time. Single crochet, 2 stitches into the next stitch, single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And you would repeat that all the way around till you get to the end, and you should have a total of 24 stitches. So we can go ahead and finish round 4 off. I've completed round 4 and I now have 24 stitches around in my circle here. And we're going to move on to round 5. And as you probably can guess, round 5 begins very much in the same way. You would be increasing into the first stitch by crocheting 2 into the first stitch and then single crochet into the next 3 stitches after that. So I'm going to do the increase 2 stitches into the first stitch and then single crochet into the next 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Again, 2 single crochets into the next stitch. Whoops. Just going to redo that one. My yarn split a little bit there. That happens sometimes. So that's your increase, 2 single crochets into 1 stitch and then single crochet into the next 3 stitches. And you would just continue in that manner all the way around. And at the end of round 5, you should have a total of 30 stitches all the way to the end. And here I've completed round 5 and I have 30 stitches all the way around. And as you can see, it's starting to kind of curl in on me, and that's just fine. You can just flip it and start forming kind of that bowl shape. So you can just flip it in this way so that the nice stitches are on the outside and this tail will end up inside of your doll. So once you've finished row 5, rows 6 through 12 are easy rows. You're going to start just knitting or crocheting. I'm a knitter too. Today we're crocheting, so you're just going to be crocheting 30 stitches all the way around for the next few rows. So you would be doing 30 stitches all the way around for rows 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So you can go ahead and do that. It's just straight single crochet, and you'll start to see that your kind of half ball shape is going to start to form. We'll just begin on that. So row 6 is just single crochet all around. And if you need to figure out what row you're on, or what round you're on, you can just start counting from this, this middle circle that you started with. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you know that you've completed 5 rounds. So that's an easy way to tell which round you're on, and you can track it that way. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish round 6 through 12, and I will meet you back here. So we've come to the end of row 12, and our circle has now become this, I guess, upside down hat kind of shape, and it is taking form. Now for row 13, we're going to start decreasing, and this is slowly going to close up this opening and forming the top of the doll's top part. So row 13 begins with a single crochet decrease, and I'm going to be doing an invisible decrease, and I do link to a YouTube tutorial that shows you how to do an invisible decrease. And I like to do the invisible decrease method because it closes it up nicely and it doesn't leave gaps where you've decreased. I can just show you really quickly here. You'll see that there's a front leg and a back leg that makes up a stitch, and you would just go under the front leg of the stitch and under the front leg of the next stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over, and you've made an invisible decrease. So for row 13, you're going to decrease, and then you're going to single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So I just did my decrease, and now I will do single crochet. So 1 single crochet, 2, and 3. And you would repeat that around. So I'm just going to do another invisible decrease or a regular decrease, and then 3 single crochets. And 3. And I mentioned at the beginning of the video that Lunar New Year this year is the year of the ox, and it falls on February 12th, which also happens to be my birthday. So I'm going to have a little something extra to celebrate this year. So I am definitely looking forward to that, and having a Daruma doll to see if any of my wishes come true. So I'm just going to finish row 13 by decreasing, and I will come back. I just completed row 13, and at the end of row 13, you should have a total of 24 stitches. So you went from 30 and decreased down to 24. Row 14 is just straight single crochet all the way around to in all 24 stitches. So just a single crochet in each stitch. Now this Daruma doll is red, and typically you would find them in this color, but you can actually, if you had different colored yarn, make it in a different color. And the colors symbolize different things. So red is an auspicious color, especially for the new year, and it symbolizes luck and good fortune. And that's always something nice to have at the beginning of the year. But if you do a doll in green, green symbolizes good health. So if you have a wish to stay healthy, which is a timely wish in the world we're living in now, you could make a green doll for yourself or as a gift for someone. That would make a really nice gift. A black doll symbolizes wealth, I believe. So if that's one of your wishes, you can make your doll in using black yarn. And you can actually look it up. I don't know what all of the colors symbolize. but you can always make them in different colors and they would look really nice that way too. So I've come to the end of row 14 and I single crocheted in each of the 24 stitches around. Row 15 is another decrease row and it begins with a decrease and then you would single crochet into the next 2 stitches after that. So I'm going to start again with an invisible decrease and then I'm going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2. So I'll do that again, single crochet, decrease, and 1 and 2. And at the end of row 14, I forgot to mention that you can actually begin stuffing your doll form now with some polyfill. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just a little bit so you can kind of see the shape that it will take once you have some of that stuffing in there. And you don't have to completely stuff it at this point. You'll have another chance to finish doing that. And also, you don't want to stuff too much or else the stuffing will kind of get in the way as you're crocheting. Okay, so we're going to finish row 15 by decreasing, doing a decrease, single crochet 2 together, and then single crochet into the next 2 stitches. I've completed row 15 and I have 18 stitches all the way around. And now I'm going to move on to row 16. And row 16 is one of those easy rows where you would just single crochet into each stitch around. So at the end of row 16, you should still have 18 stitches, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. We've made it to the end of row 16 with 18 stitches around. Now we're going to start on row 17, which is also our last row. And row 17 is a decrease row where you would start with a single crochet decrease and then single crochet into the next stitch. And once you do that all the way around, that'll leave you with 12 stitches. So I'm going to single crochet, decrease the first 2 stitches together, single crochet into the next stitch. So decrease, single crochet into the next stitch, decrease, and single crochet into the next stitch. And once we get to the end of this row, we will complete the stuffing, and you can close it up as well once we finish putting in the proper amount of stuffing. And that's kind of up to you if you like it to be nice and firm or leave it a little bit softer. So there we go. Gotten to the end of row 17. And I'm going to go ahead and move my stitch marker over. And as you can see, there's plenty more room to stuff. And I'm always surprised at how much stuffing you can put into these amigurumi. And I'm using polyester fiber fill. It's just what I have. Cotton works as well. And if you wanted to recycle, you can always fill it with scrap pieces of yarn, other scraps of fabric, whatever you have lying around. I am all for repurposing. So if you don't have stuffing, you can always use something else. So I think that is enough stuffing for mine. This is the bottom. It should be able to stand fairly well and not topple over. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out. And now you can cut the yarn, but be sure to leave yourself at least a foot of yarn to work with to close up the top. So I'm going to give myself a little bit extra, cut it off, and then you can thread that yarn end onto a darning needle. And this loop here, I'll usually just go through with my needle and pull it tight. And then I just kind of just go back and forth in and out of the stitches to cinch it shut. Go. Shouldn't take too long to do this part. And nice and tight. There we go. And I'm just going to do a tiny little bit of a knot just to give it some extra security. Go from here. And to hide your end, you can poke back in and go out in any section of the body. There you go. And you can give it a little tug before you cut it off. And then the end should be hidden inside nicely. Nice and neat and tidy. And there you have your Daruma doll body form. So now we're gonna go and start on the face using the beige yarn. So I'm just gonna put this over here and get my beige yarn. Okay, here we go. So the face is not going to be crocheted in the round. It is a flat kind of oval shape. And we're gonna start crocheting a chain to create this bottom part and just going back and forth to create the face. So we are going to start with a chain of 8. Do a slip stitch. There we go. Chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there we go. There's our chain of 8 stitches. And we're going to start with row 1. And it says to single crochet into the second chain from the hook all the way across for a total of 7 single crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Almost getting to the end, and just one more stitch. And there we go. It might curl up on you. You can just stretch it out a little bit. So at the end of row 1, you would chain 1 and turn. And now you're going to start crocheting back along this way. So row 2 begins with a decrease. So we're gonna decrease by crocheting the first 2 stitches together. And then you crochet 3 single crochets into the next 3 stitches. So sorry, 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3, and this row also ends with a decrease. So you would decrease into the next 2 stitches and crochet these 2 stitches together. And you should have a total of 5 stitches by the end of this row. So at the end of row 2, you're going to chain 1 and turn, and we'll start on row 3, and that's just a straight single crochet across the 5 stitches. Four, 5. Okay. So when you get to the end of row 3, you would not do a chain and turn, you're going to continue to single crochet all the way around the face until you get to the start of row 3. So just all the way around. You're not going to go over the top, just 1, 2, 3 sides. So when you get to the corner, I like to do at least 2 single crochets into the corner to allow yourself some room to turn that corner. So I'm going to do 3, I think, total into each of these corners. So it gives you some room just to turn and make that angle there. Just continue to single crochet all around, and this gives it a nice tidy edge to the face. And now I'm getting to the next corner. I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3 stitches into that corner stitch. And then when you get to the beginning of row 3, you can just slip stitch to end. And there you have the face. There we go. And when you get to the end and you're ready to cut the yarn, give yourself a bunch of extra yarn, because you're going to need that yarn still attached to sew the face on later after you have stitched on the face. Put it there, and then I'm just gonna go through this notch, this loop right here to close it up. Okay, and then you see you've got this tail. I'm just gonna work that into the back of the face just to kind of get it out of the way. And I'm just going to work it into a few stitches going this way, and then I'll work it into a few stitches going this way just to be secure. Okay. I'm going to snip that off. And now is a good time to stitch on the face before you stitch it onto the body. It's just easier to do it that way. And I have some black embroidery floss. It's just DC floss that I got at the craft store, just in black. And I've cut off a piece of the red. I'm going to thread it onto my darning needle, and I'm going to double it up just to make it thick enough to see the facial features without having to go over it twice. So double up your embroidery floss, and I'm just going to take a look at this one as an example. Now I'm going to find kind of the center of the face and stitch the mouth on first, so that way you kind of have a center point from which to add the rest of the facial features and try to get it as centered as you can. But again, it doesn't need to be perfect. It will look cute either way. So this, I think, is about the middle, and I'm going to add the mouth right here. Okay, there we go. And then add the mustache. Kind of whimsical and cute. So the face is supposed to look like a Zen Buddhist monk, the monk who who founded Zen Buddhism. So he's not quite centered, but you know what? I am okay with that. So you can always keep doing it until it's to your liking. So feel free to take it apart and redo it, I might do that, and then we can come back and sew the face on. So I've completed stitching on the Daruma doll face. I tried to get it as symmetrical as possible, but as you can see, it's not perfect, and that's okay. I think it'll still look really nice. So now we're ready to stitch the face onto the doll body. It doesn't matter really which side because it should all be the same. You can inspect and see which side you like the best for the front. And what I did is I placed the face about 4 rounds down from the top. So you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can have the top of the face. And with my pins, I have some straight pins here. I'm just going to pin the face on so it stays where I need it to as I'm sewing it on. And that kind of helps keep it from moving around. And I have threaded the yarn onto a darning needle, and you can just go ahead and start sewing on the face. Just do it this way. I like to come up from underneath to kind of hide those stitches. You can whip stitch it if you'd like. Either way would work, as long as you sew it on securely. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and finish sewing the face on, and then we'll come back and we're going to do the little lines on the front. And here's the doll with the face completely sewn on, nice and secure. And my waist yarn is still attached because I wanted to show you how you can, again, kind of just hide that end. So instead of doing a knot, I weave it through a couple of times just to hide it. And then I'll go in and then out again somewhere on the back of the body or a different part of the body. And then give that a little tug. And you can cut off the yarn, and then it hides that waist yarn end. And there's your Daruma doll with the face sewn on, looking almost ready. Now, the little decorative lines in yellow, you could do in, I have the yellow that I used for this one. I also found a nice kind of golden, gold color embroidery floss. So I think I'm going to use that for this one, just to change it up slightly. So I'm going to cut off some of the thread. And again, like the face, we're going to double up on this embroidery floss just to make it stand out a little more against the red. And there are 5 lines on this one. And because we're embroidering directly onto the already stuffed doll, I'm going to start by going through a different part of the body. So if I want my middle line to go from here to about here, I'm gonna place my needle and enter through kind of a back or underneath part of the doll, and then come out where you would like to begin. And be careful to leave a little extra, because at the when we're done stitching on the lines, we're going to come back out this opening and then tying, knotting it together. So I'll show you when we get to that. So I'm going to do the middle line, and I'm just going to come out here. There we go. There's that middle one. And then the second line, you can really do this any way you would like. I'm just showing you how I did my other ones. So we're going to have 2 shorter lines on either side for a total of 5. So I'm going to go in this way and then that way. So I'm going to go, I want it to end here, and then I want to go out where my next line is going to be. So if you can see, okay, there we go. And then this line, I'm going to make sure it kind of ends at the same row as the line opposite. There we go. And then that, the outside, the shortest line kind of ends here. So I'm going to go in, and then I'm going to try my best to exit the needle right where this waste yarn is hanging out. And I'll show you why in a minute. And there we have it. There are our 5 gold decorative lines on our doll. And now we have this part to deal with. All you have to do now to be able to hide this is to, I'm just going to knot it, tie it together. You can pull it a little bit tight. Just make sure that your last line isn't pulled too tightly. I'm going to knot it I'm going to knot it one more time, just to be secure. So now you have this sticking out still. So you can go ahead and trim that off, I guess, as close as you want to that knot. And then you can just poke it back in to hide it. And I'm just going to use my darning needle, the blunt end, just to poke that back in. And you would never know that it was there. So it's nice and hidden now. It's just a little easier way to do that. And there you have it, your Japanese Daruma doll. If you already know your wish, you can go ahead and stitch on that eye and put it up on a shelf somewhere that you'll see it on a daily basis and be reminded of either that goal or that wish that you hope to come true. And I hope that wish comes true for you as well. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a happy Year of the Ox, and I hope you enjoyed crocheting a Daruma doll.